Go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Hey, thanks for stopping by another episode of oh gosh, you know what's not another episode. It's just a commentary night, and we're doing this on a strange Tuesday evening, just because this one's kind of important to me personally for a lot of reasons. I'm developed a friendship with the individuals that I'll be speaking about. Well, I'm not speaking about these individuals. I'm the individuals who provided me with the video that you're going to be seeing. So thanks for stopping by my channel. I'm TC. This is Minnesota Black Robe Regiment podcast, and I want to thank my show producers. I want to thank my channel members. The show producers are IMAT from Subscribe Star and the Angry Vet from YouTube. And I'm still looking for people over on Rumble, because my content is going up on Rumble on a pretty regular basis now. And I just wanted to let everybody know that the channel members, especially, no matter where you're coming from, you're important to me. But in a way for me to be able to say thank you to the channel members, especially on YouTube, I am going to be doing a little book club on economics in one lesson with Henry Hazlitt. So I'll be doing members only content where I will be reading several chapters from Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. It's a kind of a I won't say a deep dive, but it is definitely a dive, a layman's dive into Austrian economics. And it is a phenomenal study, because most of us who grew up in government operated, government run indoctrination centers that we call public schools grew up cutting our teeth on the Keynesian economic style, method, and philosophy and theory. And we have kind of had that ramrodded into our minds, so that, I guess, for lack of better terminology, what we end up dealing with is kind of this one-sided, lopsided, rigid perspective on economics and why Keynesian economics is best. Having done some work and research and study and reading and listening and talking about Austrian economics, I have changed my perspective. And that's what I'm going to be helping my channel members with. So if you're interested and you'd like to take part in a book club where I will be doing some chapter readings and then offering live chat, whether it be via video or audio, we're going to be doing a live chat after several chapter readings and talking about what we've read. That's for the channel members and whoever wants to take part from the channel to do that. So that's a little perk of being a channel member here at the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment podcast, MBRR Pod, MBRR Media. You guys also know that kind of the sole focus of my channel has always been about talking about government corruption, talking about the lack of professionalism, talking about the insider perspective of government. Gosh, I even hate using that term. You guys know me well enough to know how much I hate that. But I really do hate how state employees, statists, whether it be city, state, county, state, school board, state, or federal state, how they all watch out for each other. And we have this false impression that they're always this professional, very professional. They're always supposed to be professional. Their public facing persona is supposed to be that of of decency and upright values and on and on and on and on. And we all know that that's demonstrably untrue. We hear horror stories about the DMV and uh, tax assessors' offices and even public libraries or post office, and how these front facing public servants, it seems like, are increasingly not behaving themselves in a way that shows that they have any respect or um, a sense of duty to those that they are, paid to serve. We are wage slave tax cattle who have our income stripped from us to pay, ostensibly, freeloaders on society. And we're told that they are public servants because of that. And we kind of come to a place where we expect that they are going to behave as public servants. And part of that is respect and decency. And when in public, when they're doing their jobs, when they're on the clock, getting paid to be public servants, that their behavior will be decent and ethical and polite and civil, especially when it comes to law enforcement, because there's so many places that have public decency laws that cops are expected to enforce, and they have disorderly conduct laws that they are expected to enforce, and they're masters at using things like public decency and uh, disorderly conduct laws, codes, ordinances, statutes, whatever, against you to the letter, to the nth letter of the law. So they'll use things like, "Oh, you cursed, and that's a violation of public decency," or "You cursed, you used the f bomb," or "You called me a bitch," or whatever, and that's disorderly conduct. So we're going to arrest you, and or we're going to detain you, or we're going to ticket you, which of course we all know is a violation of the First Amendment, violation of your natural right to expression of speech. But they do these things. This is what cops do. And we also hear very often from places like Rochester, Minnesota, which we're going to be looking into, that we have the highest level of professionalism in this town. Our city staff, from the maintenance workers to office personnel to administrative personnel to the street cops, they're all very professional. There's not only is there very little crime in Rochester, there's certainly no corruption. But we have to ask ourselves, is that true? Are they always decent? Do they always treat people with decency and respect? Are they always professional? Are they always ethical? Are they always operating with decency? And see, the very definition of ethics is the practice of morality. And the very definition of what ethics looks like is what you do when you don't know anybody's watching. Right? That's true. It's easy to be ethical when you're being watched. It's easy to be ethical when a superior is around to manage your behavior, to see how you conduct yourself. It's easy to be ethical when all the eyes are on you. But it's what you do when you don't know who is watching that determines your ethics, that determines your professionalism. And having been in the public service sector for it was basically going on, a decade and a half, 13 years. I know what it's like, what it means to be monitored, to have every bit of your behavior scrutinized, to have to live under that. I also know what it's like to be able, to finally walk away from a situation and say, I'm not being monitored, I'm not being watched. So where are my ethics? and having made mistakes, cut corners, said things I shouldn't have said. Give an example. I had an individual when I was working for the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office as a detention deputy. He was he earned himself some disciplinary time in his cell for some of his attitude and disrespect towards myself and others in the housing unit that I was supervising, and I put him in his cell for what we refer to as a 23-hour lockdown. And every time I would walk by him for several hours, he would mother F me and call me a bitch and on and on and on and off and off and on and off for several hours. And finally, I did the unethical thing when I walked by and he called me, said, "Hey man, you're a bitch. You know you're a bitch." And I lost, my cool. And I looked at him in a very calm voice and I said, "You know what, young man, you're right. I might be a bitch, but I'm the bitch that's going home at the end of my shift. You'll still be in here." Totally unethical. Not good conduct on my part. But see, I admitted that to my supervisor at the time. I said, "Hey, Sarge, got to let you know, said something I shouldn't have said, upset the detainee involved." And I'll apologize to him, but I'm sure he's going to want to, talk to you about his grievance against me, which is his right to do. He's entitled to that. But I just wanted you to be aware. I dimed myself out. I was my own snitch, if you will. And the question is always, what is the behavior of the individuals that we pay, that we call public servants? And sorry, I had to check something. So, what is behavior of public servants? What do we expect from them? And now I'm going to show you this video, and we're going to talk about it. It's very short. It's under 2 minutes. The commentary is definitely by far longer than the video, but that's important. That's what commentary is for. So we're going to take a look at this. All right, let's watch this, folks. All right, so you see here this car's pulling in. You see this RPD cruiser pulling behind it. Let's situation RPD cruiser pulls in. So what do we know? In this situation, this vehicle has done something that's worthy of getting the attention of this officer, whatever the case might be. Window tint, speeding, failure to stop, failure to yield, failure to use turn signals, whatever the case might be. We don't know. We're going to work on finding that out, by the way, because I have the date and the time of this incident, and we can pull the squad number off of this. But something was enough to provoke this officer to pull this car over, right? We know that. So what was it? We don't know. But watch how this plays out. And you're going to see where I clip something off. It's just because I'm trying to, I don't want to show the face profile of the individual that gave me this. Now, want you to focus on the right-hand side of the screen, if you will. You see how this car pulled down to this dead end? This officer has them cornered in there, basically. But this car is still driving around. Still, it's in fact, it's pulling forward to back up, like it's going to turn around. Now, I want you to ask yourself, if this were you and you were behaving this way, what would response from law enforcement be here? Now, something else is about to happen that should make you scratch your head. So watch that car closely. It is backing up to turn around. Tell me there would not be commands getting shouted at you. And I want you to watch this too, because this car pulls in here fast. So by the time you see this car come in, this officer has gotten pretty close to this vehicle as it was turning around. So somewhere between the cop activating his lights, this car right here, the original, pulled out their phone and called the second car. Now, we don't have all the video, and the audio is very poor, except for the parts you're about to hear. Conversation took place here that allows what you're about to see take place. Expect the paperwork. Expect paperwork. Now listen to this because he says it again.
Expect the paperwork, dickhead.
Listen to that again.
Expect the paperwork, dickhead.
So we're going to just let that play in the background here. I want you to think about this. What could possibly be going on? Had enough probable cause to affect a traffic stop. Suspect doesn't really comply with the traffic stop, calls this other person in, and for lack of better terminology, creates a dangerous situation for the cop. What could possibly contribute to what we see play out here? Because I'm going to tell you that this reeks of undercover cops, or this reeks of undercover cop and a confidential reliable informant, CRI. So it looks to me as if our PD officer pulls over either an undercover or a confidential reliable informant for some form of infraction. See confidential reliable informant or undercover, whatever it is, gets on the phone, calls in an officer who's undercover, probably with the street crimes team, says, "You need to come here and rescue me, get me out of this." They come rushing in. And say, "Hey, you got to let this go." And now it's a joke, right? Whatever it was that you decided to stop this person for is going to go away. It's minor. We need them. We don't need them getting jacked up on this, which tells me it's probably a confidential, reliable informant working with undercovers from street crimes, which means they probably have a criminal history, which means they probably are on probation or parole, which means that now they've had contact with an officer And now they're going to get away with it because they're working in the capacity of being a snitch for Rochester PD. They get away with things that the rest of us don't get away with. So whether it's a undercover cop or a confidential reliable informant, they get special treatment here. But the worst thing is that this guy gets to say something that if we said it to him in the middle of a traffic stop, we'd be in trouble for.
Expect paperwork. Expect the paperwork, dickhead.
Expect the paperwork, dickhead. Is that ethical behavior? Is that professional behavior, Rochester Police Department? Chief Franklin, do you want your officers out there in public calling other people in public dickhead? Is that what you want, Chief Franklin? Do you really want your officers calling the public, members of the public, dickhead within earshot of other members of the public? No, that's not what you get paid for. RPD, officer, whatever your name is. That's not what you get paid for. That's not your job. That's not your responsibility to call other people names, to call people dickhead. And I want to know why this person gets away with whatever it was that you were writing them or pulling them over for. Why didn't they get a ticket? Because what makes them special? What gives them the 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 right to basically try to get out of this stop, to try and turn around? Because that's what's happening here. This person's relying on their status as either an undercover or as a confidential, reliable informant, because that's all this can be. They're getting special treatment that your average non law enforcement civilian would get. They're getting special treatment that the rest of us would not get. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Expect paperwork, you dickhead. We can yell this at people in public in an afternoon, on a Tuesday afternoon. That's crass. That's rude. It's unprofessional. And this person should be taken aside, written up, and disciplined for being crass, rude, and unprofessional in public while he's on the clock, while he's doing the job. And the other thing that I want to, talk about too is that the person who's turned this into me has had terrible experiences with the Rochester Police Department. They've been treated like criminals in an investigation, locked out of their house when they committed no crime, while cops sat in their house while they were forced to sit outside of their house on a very cold day with their grandchild. I want to imagine, if you will, I want you to come with me. I want you to close your eyes for a minute, and I want you to picture. I want you to take the time to imagine what that would feel like. Just a few short years ago, RPD cruisers pull up in front of your house, men armed with um, assault rifles, M16s, come piling out of their cars, extract you from the home with guns pointed at you and your grandchild, and make you sit outside for hours and hours and hours without a jacket, while they go in your house unsupervised and make you sit outside in the cold without the jacket that they could very easily bring out to you. Now, I want you to imagine what this feels like as you see this taking place in front of your house. What do you think that feels like for them? What do you think that's like for this individual? Do you think RPD gives a damn that they've done this to this person and then also uses their private property as a turnaround point to back into their driveway while they're yelling out their window into the open air into the public for everyone to hear? Hey, dickhead. This tells you everything you need to know about the attitude of the vast majority of law enforcement. They get to act however they want to act. They get to do whatever they want to do. And people that they want to protect, they can protect. They can have confidential, reliable informants or undercovers who can break traffic laws, who can violate traffic codes and cause an officer to pull them over and then walk away from it scot-free while the officer makes a joke and calls you a dickhead a few short years after abusing the crap out of you. I'm talking about you, Sergeant Ben Schlegg, who helped victimize this individual. You're a sergeant now. You help set the tone. But Chief Franklin, is this the behavior you expect from your officers? Is this the kind of behavior that you expect your officers to display in public where anybody can see it and they now have? I don't know, Chief Franklin. All I hear is about how you're one of the good ones. Do you approve of this behavior, Chief Franklin? I don't. And I don't think the vast majority of people in Rochester would approve of what they would hear from this officer as well. And I think they have a lot of right to ask a lot of questions about what happened here. Who was driving the first car? Who was driving the second car? If it was a confidential, reliable informant, why do they get away with breaking traffic laws? If it was an undercover, why do they get away with breaking traffic laws? Why does a member of your enforcement team play favorites? See, corruption we always picture as this deep thing. It's about money and power and protectionism. But see, corruption's more than that. Corruption is letting your friends get away with things that you wouldn't let somebody else get away with. Corruption's letting somebody under your protection get away with things that you wouldn't let other people get away with. If you took the time to pull them over and then you find out that they're a confidential, reliable informant or they're an undercover, and then they call for backup, maybe you should have taken the time to go ahead and write the goddamn ticket to prove the point. You don't get to get away with things because of who you are and who you're connected to. Because we're not corrupt. Nope. Instead, you displayed your corruption. You displayed your unprofessionalism. It speaks volumes about Rochester Police Department. Not all of them, but it does speak volumes about the vast majority of the police department in Rochester, Minnesota. And the poison comes from the head. Chief Franklin, your staff, by and large, are incredibly unprofessional. We have video after video after video of that being the case. There again, not all of them. But this is unprofessional, unethical behavior. And they let somebody go when they should have made an example out of them. But they didn't. But there's going to be paperwork, right, dickhead? All right, people. We're going to let this go here, but I want you to think about what corruption really is and what it really looks like. Is it just the mob paying, getting paid for protection? Or is corruption when you have the power to protect people that you like? And so you do it, even though they've clearly broke the law, violated traffic codes, or whatever the case might be. I'd really like to know who was in those two cars. I want to know who those individuals were. I want to know why they got protected. And I want to know why it's okay for an RPD officer, when he thinks no one's paying attention, to yell dickhead in public. All right, everybody, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you have the time and the inclination, help the channel out, become a channel member. And if you really want to help out, become a show producer. Pick that top level of support on YouTube, Rumble, go to Subscribe Star, whatever the case might be. We're about accountability here. So until next time, my friends, fight for your freedom, it is yours. Fight for your liberty, it belongs to you. In Sic Semper, Tyrannus.
We are going for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at